Hello and welcome to this new video in the SQL section. In the previous video, we have learned how to use aggregate functions. In this video, we will reuse them again. However, we will learn a new clause called as group by. Let's understand what this is about. So first, let us identify a table. I say select star from fact internet sales. From this, let's say I want to focus only on few columns like product key and sales amount to begin with. So we know that each product key and sales amount will have a transaction and you will see 60,000 odd rows. Now if you watch carefully, these product keys are repeating, and obviously it will be the case because this is a transaction table and these transactions have occurred on different days or maybe same days because different customers would have ordered them. Now what I'm interested is product wise, I want to know the total sales. Alright, in the last video we have seen how to sum up the sales for a column, but now my requirement is one step ahead. Here I want each product key to appear only once, and with that I want the total sales in the respective row. Now if I say that each product key should be appearing only once, immediately it should strike to you that it is somewhat similar to distinct. So if you take a distinct as we have done earlier, how will you get the output? So if I do a distinct on top of this, you will get the unique rows, which is 158, and this is what I want. However, along with this, I want another column, the second column, which gives me the total sales, not the respective sales of each and every transaction, the accumulated sales, the total sales for each product. So here you need a function to sum up, and which is just a sum function. So what we can do in this case is we can just say sum, not necessary that you write in uppercase, and we'll name this as total sales. Let me split this in multiple lines and run. Now, as soon as I do this, I'll get an error. The column fact internet sales dot product key. So it is saying something about product key. It is invalid in the select list because it is not contained in either aggregate function or the group by clause. Now let us understand this. If I copy paste this and remove the product key column, this will work perfectly. This will work absolutely fine. However, as soon as I add a product key, this is the issue. So what happens is, as soon as you add a product key, you are specifying a column other than a column which is inside an aggregate function. Whenever you do so, you have to add a clause which is called as group by, because understand why that's the case. Product key will have 60,000 odd rows, 60,398. Sum of sales amount will return only one row. So both will not be having the same number of rows. Just try to visualize this. So 60,000 rows and then one row. So you cannot, club them together. So this has to be on an equilibrium state. So both needs to have the same number of rows. So what you do is you bring in the concept of grouping. So you just say group by product key and select and run this. Now you see group by does two things for you. It does exactly the same way what distinct gives you, 158 rows. However, it goes ahead and sums up the value by product key, and why that's the case is because you've explicitly mentioned over here group by product key. So it will take the distinct, and for each product key or whatever column you have over here, it will sum up the values. Now instead of sum, you can do average, mean, max, count, any aggregate function, but keep in mind one thumb rule. If in your select statement you have an aggregate function, apart from that aggregate function, if you have any other column which doesn't have an aggregate function, you will have to add that in a group by clause. You will have to add a group by clause after the from table name and then add those many columns. Keep that in mind. So for example, if I wanted to see product key and customer key wise, there is another column in this table called customer key. Okay, and if I write this way, I will now get an error stating that the customer key is invalid, because the thumb rule states that if you have any columns in your select statement and you have an aggregate function, you have to make sure you are all those remaining columns apart from this column in the aggregate function over here, at least to get started with. So you need both the columns over here, so it can group by both of them. And now you see more number of rows because the permutations will increase the combinations for each product key, for each customer, what is the total sales. So you can keep on adding more columns and it will give you granular total. And this is how group by is different as compared to distinct. Distinct can only remove duplicates. Group by can also do the same thing for you. However, group by has an extra feature that it can sum up or aggregate the values. Not just sum, you can go by average also. Look at this. And you can try out many variations. So for example, along with the sum, let's say you were summing by product key, along with the sum, you wanted average sales. So that is also possible. Average of sales amount, we can say average sales. So you'll get, okay, group by is compulsory over here now because there is another column apart from our aggregate function. All right. So there you go. And many other possibilities. It is not compulsory that you have the same column over here. You can take any other amount, like let's say tax amount, and you wanted to aggregate tax amount. So we'll say total tax. So these are all possibilities. But once you understand the logic behind this will all be easy. So just to sum up again, when you use only aggregate function in select statement, group by is not needed because there is no other column. It's only a single scalar value like sum, min, max, count. But as soon as you add another column like product key or any other column apart from your aggregate function, the column which you use in aggregate function, you have to do a grouping because of that inconsistency which I told you. Very simple to get started. And the thumb rule is that all the columns except which you have used in your aggregate function, just put them in group by. So it will reduce, it will do a distinct and give you the aggregated value. We will keep using group by, but the logic will remain the same. It's only that we'll be using this with different functions like date functions, what we will learn in future. So that's all about group by for now. See you in the next video.